All right. I've got with me Mr. Curt Tucker, and he's the owner, operator, inventor behind all sorts of hats at Teamtech Motorsports. Um, and so uh, he makes, what do you want to say, safety equipment for motorsports? Is that how you would characterize it, or how would you characterize what you do at Teamtech?
Uh, Passive restraints for human occupancy.
Gotcha. That's much more
And
fancy than what I was
yeah,
saying.
yeah, safety related items for the primarily the motorsports industry, aka race cars, monster trucks, formula cars, off-road trucks, dune buggies, uh, go-karts, you name it. Anything that shifts gears and burn rubber, we can do it.
How long have you guys been
Yeah.
in that
So
business?
This October, it'll be 35 years that I started the company, designed the logos, got trademarks on the logos, patented the, the seat belts and window nets, which are the staple of the company. I received, those were my first patents. And the patenting process and the trademark process has been pretty important to the success of my business as well. So,
What can you tell me a little bit about what that process looked like? Like some of the patents that you've gotten. What first, like what kinds of things that you did patent, and what that process looked like for you to get those patents?
well, I'm not exactly sure what you're looking for in the uh, what did the patent process look for me, but the two patents that I received, the first one was on this seatbelt buckle that I designed for race car drivers. You grab the handle on the quarter turn in either direction, and all the parts fall out. I'm not going to do it because I'll just bang around on my keyboard and stuff. But you have a right and left shoulder belt. You have a right and left lap belt, and then we have what we call an anti-submarine strap, or in racer terms, a crotch strap.
Sure.
And so we got, and this one will handle what we call a 7 point. I invented this also. I didn't patent it, but we got a right and left anti-submarine strap, and then we have a second slot in the middle for what we call the 7 point harness. Okay, so it's covers pretty much all the bases as far as the number of important points of strap coverage on a body in a race car. So then the window netting that we designed, of course, the netting is placed in the driver's side, or could even be in the passenger side a window, and that's to prevent the head, the hands, the elbow from protruding out past the confines of the race car cockpit. You know, the safety zone, and it also is designed to keep small parts and other fragments inside, or from going inside the car as well, to potentially harm the race driver. In years, and what's interesting about this mesh that we use, and that's exactly what it is. It's 1/8 inch apertures. It's kind of like a beehive, the cross section of a beehive, and and it allows for super visibility and uh, and uh, and great protection uh, against the objects as I described earlier. But it also is kind of like a windscreen at the same time. It's like a continuation of the skin of the car. The air doesn't get scooped in like the ribbon style window nets that first came out. And so this one just really affords great visibility, great protection, high strength, and great wearability as well. So, there we've licensed that patent out two other safety equipment companies, and that wanted to take advantage of it. We also had a couple of safety equipment companies just really just come out and always say infringe on the patent rights of it. And it's not that we were trying to keep all the safety to ourselves, but it took us a while to invent it, and it was significant improvement, and we felt that we should be rewarded for those efforts. And part of the licensing process is that anybody that wants to make uh, and sell that net is welcome to do so, and it would be on a royalty basis, which was very nominal. And so, but at any rate, the companies that did sign a licensing agreement did very well and prospered very well as well. So anyhow, so we also manufacture a line of race car driver fire protection suits, gloves, shoes, so on and so forth. So yeah, but the staple of the company is still our patented seatbelts, which I invented back in, I don't know, 1990 or so. And of course, patent is expired on that. But we just keep on, instead of saying, oh, the patent's expiring, we just kept on improving it and upgrading it. So
So have you
no one is.
I was gonna say, so have you patented further iterations, or have you just kind of iterated without patenting the next iterations?
Iterated without on these iterated without patenting.
Okay.
Yeah, and
And
why? I mean, we could have, but I, it was just sometimes things happen so fast that you don't really, think about patenting them. And pretty much the industry already knew that we had a patent on them, so they just, the ones that licensed, we helped them upgrade the technology of the product, and the ones that didn't, they, pretty much knew that we had everything sewn up as far as those products were concerned.
did you notice an uptick in competition after your patent had dropped then, or since everyone already kind of had their own solutions, did it kind of stay the same?
Well, that's an interesting question. No, really, I like the seatbelts. A NASA space engineer, he approached me about doing a 6-year study with them. And his opening statement, when I asked why Teamtech, and he says, well, you have a lot of competition, but everybody's a cookie cutter of one another, meaning they're all the same. They're all copying each other. And then he said, but when I came to your website, I was really astonished at the uniqueness of your designs. And I said, well, thank you very much. We're probably the only ones that have a patent on our passive restraints, aka our driver harnesses. Okay. And so he agreed. And that's why they wanted to do business with us, because they knew we were the right size and the right mindset of innovation that they felt could really help them move their project along.
Sure. Um, so I guess what was it like when you'd mentioned that your patents were infringed upon? Um, how did that become a big legal thing, or what did that look like?
Well, that was really early on. I think it was about 91 or 92. And so Teamtech was still very, very young. And, back then patent, the patents didn't seem to really, and this is me speaking, they didn't seem like they were really all that for the inventor. There seemed to be too many loopholes. So, like, for example, you know, for you to, you know, the recourse of getting somebody to stop infringing is to send a cease and desist letter out. But that cease and desist letter could have adverse effects from the standpoint that that person that you send the cease and desist letter to could end up filing a lawsuit. And I don't remember all the specifics on that, but and then if they're out of state, then you have pay your attorney out of state fees to either go to that city where that infringer is, or they have to hire an attorney in that city. And you know, I didn't have that kind of money, and we did we did send the cease and desist letter, which you know, the company essentially laughed and said, you know, you can't patent safety products, and you know, safety products really aren't realistically aren't any different than any other product. Okay,
Sure.
and I know this the case of, well, to finish answering your question here. So I had, as a young guy, I had two choices. You know, I could three choices. I couldn't afford litigation, and and at that time, in order to get the patent attorney to take it on a when we say a contingency basis, you have to. They said that you had to prove that there was over $200,000 worth of damage,
Mm,
and so my thought is, how do they expect us to prove that? Do you think the one that's infringing on your patent is going to say, "Oh, hey, here's my sales books and
sure.
records"?
Yeah.
I don't I don't think so, right? So that was not a feasible option. So I just decided, well, okay, all I can do is in my advertising say that you know, patent owner, the originator of this product, you know, things like you know, any other buying it from any other company except for X, Y, and Z is you know, is you know, buying from an infringer of a U.S. patent, and that seemed to work a little bit. And but the big part was, Curt, what are you going to do with this? Are you gonna let it eat at you, and you know, turn you into somebody you're not supposed to be, or are you just going to outshine the sun? So I chose to outshine the sun, and that was the right course. So it just went on and invented more products, and uh, so they finally stopped making and selling the nets. So I mean, it was good at that point. I didn't, you know, didn't really. I guess I didn't, you know, I wasn't designed to engage in combat like that. So
Sure.
anyhow, hopefully that answers your question.
Oh yeah. No, that's great. That's great. Um, so do you think if you had never patented the window nets, do you think I know it's intangible, it's hard for you to guess, but like um clearly the case that came up that did infringe on you, that would have happened. And do you think there would have been a lot more? Or I mean, how much do I want to say have you seen in terms of honor amongst other inventors and saying like, oh, even if it's not patented, this is something they're selling, I want to make my own thing? Or what have you seen, at least in your industry, for that?
Well, if I'm understanding your question right, um, you know, we actually had we actually had quite a number of companies uh, infringing on the patent later on after this gentleman. And what I did was I wrote them letters and saying, you know, you guys are making these nets, um, you know, and I have a patent on them, and you know, I think the ethical thing for you to do, at least contact us and give us the opportunity to quote you on manufacturing these for you or licensing, getting a license to manufacture them. And either they obliged or they stopped selling them. So, um,
That's cool.
so I felt that that was probably a pretty diplomatic way to approach it.
Yeah, so like I suppose it's a good example to make is just because you have the patent doesn't mean you're the only person that's making it. It just gives you the right to decide how that is being used or how it's being licensed or who's using it and things along those lines, right?
Well, yeah, the patent is designed to give you control over how it's used, who manufactures it, and who uses it, who sells it. Okay. And, the whole idea of patenting is because you or the company you work for and has hired you to do the inventing, you know, they do that so that they can, they can, well, make in a lot of different reasons, but make money,
Sure.
make life better for somebody or or many persons, and or be able to do work smarter, faster, more accurately, just things like that. And in the case of this, oh, what was the guy's name from? Just a minute, gentleman's name from Volvo. Where they got a patent. Um, this was a safety engineer and you brought him up. Let's see. Yeah, Nils Roland, 19. He was born in 1920. Let's see. He got that. He invented the 3-point harness,
Yeah.
and I believe that was back in like 1959. The first car, incidentally, to have at least a lap belt was the Tucker 48. No relation, but
Yeah.
but the Tucker 48 was the first car to have lap belts on it. But Volvo felt, and rightly so, that there was more that could be done with the seat belt design. So they designed the 3-point harness, which really increase the survivability rate of a person in a crash by at least 50% or more, which was just huge. And they, rather than license the patent, they just uh, uh, told the industry it's open for your use in your motor vehicles because of the importance of this product. So, which was a very noble thing to do. And so of course, it's in every car, UTVs, uh, you name it.
Yeah.
Virtually all the recreation vehicles and things like that. So yeah, I mean, it was a wonderful design, and I don't know if I hit on your second question there or not.
No, that was good. And it's uh uh I suppose uh I I guess kind of what I'm trying to examine is how would your business have been if the patent was absent versus if it was present. Um, and yeah, I think it having that right or having that ability, um, it's interesting that you brought up the first infringement that you had the patent, um, but it couldn't necessarily be enforced, right? It
Right.
was and that's an interesting thing. And it's kind of one of those things where people can be chip bullies, right? Like if you have like the capital, and then someone like you that's having a startup, you had your patent, but if it was a bigger company and they were out of state, there was nothing you could really do
Really
without
do about
substantial
it.
money.
Yeah. And that's part one of it. But interestingly, to combat that thing now, insurance companies recognize that that intellectual property rights are very important, and that they could also they could provide the financial recourse on companies infringing on patents, and also provide protection to intellectual property protection for the inventors. So they came up with intellectual property insurance, which
Interesting.
means that as soon as you get your patent and you feel that the potential of somebody infringing on it is very prevalent, then it would be advisable to get adequate intellectual property insurance. So the insurance company will go to bat with you. Now, the stipulation is that you need to have that insurance in place before the infringement takes place.
Sure.
Okay. So, which means how are you really going to know that until, that it takes a little while for all that to get around. The other the other thing about a patent is, well, you've heard a lot of, how China has been pretty engaged in stealing intellectual property from the stateside here, and I'm
Yep.
sure that it happens. A lot of other countries do that too. In fact, I'm sure that the U.S. has. But be it that it may, how do you stop a foreign? No, the patents that we have says U.S. patent on it. So if somebody has a patent that says U.S. patent and it's not applicable to any foreign countries, how do you keep somebody from another country making that product and then importing it into the United States? And well, the U.S. Customs has a solution to that. When they inspect the shipments coming in and they see that there's products that are patented without a license and they're bringing them in, they'll stop them right at the customs and either confiscate it or turn it away and send it back
Mm.
at the shipper's expense. Um, so I think that's it certainly is a comfort um, from that standpoint. But and that's at least a couple of things that is important to know.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Um,
Hmm.
so we're probably coming up on time, so I'll ask I'll skip to my very last question. So this video is kind of being produced for my 3D printing class, and so I'd be remiss if I didn't ask um, how has 3D printing changed the way that you invent things? Kind of a different topic, but I bet you've got a lot to say on it.
Well, that was really when I read the final question, and I thought, well, that's really a good question. It's kind of an outlier to all the other
Yeah,
questions
yeah.
he's asking. But I had uh, one very, very important event happen in my inventions. I was asked by NASCAR to invent a seatbelt buckle that would tighten itself up just by clasping it together. And and 5 years later, I finally was able to do that, and it was the buckle was taken and reviewed by all the NASCAR drivers a few years back at their drivers meeting before their new season started, and it was greatly met with success. But um, but what during that process of inventing the seatbelt buckle is a over the center latch and lever type of a seatbelt buckle. You may or may not have seen when you were here. I'm certain your wife did when she worked for us.
Yeah.
Um, but anyhow, the process that I used was kind of wrong in doing the research and development. I chose to do investment casting of the buckle, which is the the first prototype seatbelt buckle that I produced was out of billet. It was all completely machined and the thing worked flawless. Then I decided, well, you know, I've got to mass produce this, but I can't sell that seatbelt buckle for, $1,500, and that's just, it seemed to me out of, way out of the price range at that time. And it might even have been more than that but I never sold it. It was about how much it cost to make it. And so in the investment casting process, you build a mold and then you squirt wax into it. Then the wax cools down. Then you have to put it on a casting tree. Then you have 5 or 6 coatings of ceramic slurry that you use to build up the shell, and then it has to go through an autoclave, a steam autoclave high pressure system to get the wax out. Then you burn the rest of it out in the kiln, and then at the same time you're curing the ceramic shell. But uh, getting back to the mold, every time that part would fail in the laboratory, I would call the metal caster and say, I need to change my tooling, thicken it up here. And then when I thicken it up, then it would break in another spot, and in another spot, and another spot. And that got to be very timely and time consuming and very costly. So I called on SVSU, Dr. Byam, and said, Doc, I'm running into these problems. Also, who was the metallurgist there at that time? Tuttle,
Tuttle, Dr. Tuttle, yeah.
Bob Tuttle. Yep. And I talked to him a little bit about it. And then Dr. Byam, he examined the quality of the casting and found it had a lot of bubble pockets in it and so on. But Dr. Byam recommended that I hire one of the students to run FEAs and run some uh, 3D printed models just so I could see what it's going to look like when he thickened it up and everything like that. And then the first one that I saw that was handed to me from an SVSU student, I got this idea. Why can't my metal caster use this plastic 3D model instead of to build his cast piece, to build his cast piece instead of changing the mold? I can use this plastic in place of the wax.
Yeah.
So I contacted the metal caster, and he says, well, I don't know that it's ever been done before, but bring me a couple of them and let's give it a try. So he went through the mold process or the casting process, and all he had to do was just burn the plastic out. Now he had the hollow molds, and it worked. When he poured the casting, it worked wonderfully. So,
Hmm.
in short, I could have saved all that. I wouldn't even have had to build a mold at all, which probably end up being about $12,000 there. And all I would have had to do is just sent these 3D printed models over that I already knew through the FEA analysis that they were going to work based on
Sure.
the type of metal, the type of manufacturing we're going to do. So, if there's any walk away on that, that was it. It was really being able to utilize to the fullest any type of what do you say method of speeding up the prototyping process. The 3D printing was it. And the if I can just I was thinking also, what are some of the ways that 3D printing has changed the world? And there was really uh, 12 that I could think of: precision medicine, uh, organogenesis, 3D printed foods, custom apparel, disrupting the construction process, 3D printed homes, household repairs, space program acceleration, world real world security, gaming, hard to find parts, and of course, manufacturing innovation, like it was in my case. So there's and you know what? And I think it's just in the Model T stage of really of its development yet. So it's
Sure.
just really something wild, untapped.
Yeah, definitely. Um, yeah, I think that's one of the things that's always been appealing to me is I'm a very like hands-on, like I just need to like see it and feel it. And so being able to just click a button and have something exist and then say, oh, I don't like that and I want to change it. Um, and being able to just iterate that skill is invaluable. And when you compare it to when that was absent, how you'd have to do that and like woodworking mold or things along those lines, it would just be so much time, like you were saying.
Yeah, yeah, and all the different materials. Like I've been doing, I developed some tests for a company out east, and getting ready to do some more testing for another prosthesis company out of Idaho. But I developed a test for proof loading 3D printed knee sockets for prosthetics.
Interesting.
And yeah, so yeah, and it's really important one too, especially in third world countries where not. I mean, there's a lot of amputees, whether it's an arm or leg or whatever. But this guy goes down to Guatemala and Chile, and he has a prosthesis company, and he would make a mold of somebody's knee down there, and then he would have to fly back to North Carolina and make the prosthetic. Then he would have to fly back again, and so what he's decided was, he learned more about 3D printing. So he brought a scanner down, laser scanner. He could email the coordinates or the yeah
The point cloud.
the yeah, yeah, to back to his company, and then they would 3D print for him and send it down while he was still there. And then he brought a 3D printer down uh, to where he was a missionary, and he taught some of the local folks how to scan and how to make the 3D printed sockets. Then he wanted to find out which material type was going to give him the best bang for the buck. And so we tested all the different types of resins and resin systems, the design of the attachment points of the rest of the components to that knee socket. So just really phenomenal improvement.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
All right.
So so if I can, I'll show you. I showed you my seatbelt buckle in the latest one that we did real quick, and we could probably
Sure.
end with this. But I was telling you about the seatbelt cutter that that we invented, and here's here's the the car seatbelt latch. Okay,
Yeah.
and then this piece goes up on the B pillar, and then you pull it across with your harness, and then you snap it in right here, so that now this the seatbelt runs through these slots right here. Okay, and it's always there. It's attached to the seatbelt tongue, if you will, and you lift this latch up right here, and it has a little plastic piece that goes across there to keep it closed all the time. So you really have to be purposeful and lifting the latch up so that you can. And what you do is you pull it across, and then when you pull it across, it does a really great job in cutting the seatbelt webbing.
Oh, so
So
in
it's always there in case of an emergency. And
I
that's
see. That's
three
very
people.
neat.
That's 3D printed right there too. So
So it has an embedded like a razor blade, and if there's been an accident and you need to get someone out of the car, you can use that and just slice the belt.
you can use that, right. So typically you'd be storing your seatbelt cutter in your console or in the glove box. When you upside down and you open up your console, everything just falls out all over the place, and who
Yeah.
knows where that seatbelt cutter is going to be, or if it's in the glove box, it's maybe end up being too far away for you to even reach it.
Yeah.
So this one is right here, right now, always there, uh, locked and loaded and ready to go. And so also did a lot of studies on the blade angle, um, the amount of pressure, if you were a 300-pound person or a 60-pound person, how much load would it take to cut across that webbing?
Sure.
And that helped us get the right use the right type of blade and things like that. So it was took about a year for that one and five other people. So, but it was really a great challenge. We even designed our own tension compression machines and to run those tests as well.
That's very cool.
So anything else?
No, I think that's a lot of good information just to see kind of the perspective of someone who gets patents and kind of some of the trials that you've had to face and some just your perspective on it. And so I think that's very helpful and exactly what I was trying
Yeah.
to accomplish.
So if I can, just in closing,
Yep.
um, I think one of your questions that why get a patent?
Yeah.
Well, well, a patent, I guess on a personal level, it the U.S. government recognizes you as the originator, the sole inventor of that product. So once you get a patent number, you're you're placed into a category or a titleship of in the word inventor. And it was pretty thrilling to hear the patent attorney say, "You are now in the League of Inventors,"
That's cool. Yeah.
which was yeah, which was uh, it's kind of like, what do I do with that? I mean, wow, okay,
Yeah.
so I am, and now inventor five times over, but and one more on the way, hopefully. But the you know the thing of it is, you work really hard on something, so you need to be rewarded for it. You get 4 years of college, and you get a college diploma when you graduate. So that places you in the category of a collegiate graduate,
Yeah.
okay, or in the way of a bachelor or a bachelor's degree or a master's degree or a PhD, which you are, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. So so that's in a way rewarding for you for all your efforts, and you have a right to that. The other thing is that I worked awful hard for an awful long time to develop a product that is going to help a lot of people, but it sure would be nice to be compensated for it. Now I did license out one of my patents, and we had some investors that wanted it really bad, and by uh, so I licensed it out, and I was able to pay off my house, pay off the cars, pay off all our credit cards, and still have some money in the bank. And so what a great feeling of accomplishment, great
Sure.
feeling of reward, and what it did, because it actually encouraged me to put the inventor cap back on and hungry to tackle the next project. And
Yeah.
what a process. So, and uh, I encourage everybody to do that. Look into the patents as well as the trademarks and the copyrights. And the copyright, their Teamtech logo is which is on the right here on the seatbelt buckle handle. That's it's got a little registered trademark right there. That means that nobody can start making, selling, or running a business under that name. That you are unique in your name, in your logo or artwork that represents you and your company, and that we've had people infringe on that as well, and in the case of customers sending product back for a rebuilding, they sent it to the wrong Teamtech,
Oh wow.
and so that really created a lot of confusion. So if you don't protect it, you can lose it. So
Sure.
just like a patent, a trademark. So you have to do something about it. You can't take that passive approach, because and as much as it's uncomfortable having to do it, it's a part of doing business too.
Sure.
And yeah, so you worked hard for it, and and it's something you have to protect.
Yeah, yeah. That's I'm glad that you shared that sentiment and kind of what the argument is to go that
Yeah,
angle.
yeah, because you know what, and I'll just leave you with this. I mean, it's a great joy to have those things, because it does put you on a different uh, plateau, and from other people that invent things, and and then it distinguishes you from other companies. Um, and it's just like, we didn't say anything about copyrights, which are really the easiest thing to do. You just put um, Curt Tucker copyright and then the year, um, and it's pretty much protected right at that point.
Yeah.
Okay, so that covers songs, poems, writings, stories, and if it's something that is unique and very meaningful for you and other people, then you should probably uh, you want to get the credit for it,
Well,
and if there's some monetary reward for it, that would be welcome as well.
hold up. I got a question for you on that real quick then. So
Yeah.
you know how long the copyright term is, right?
Yep.
It's your life plus 70 years. Um, so like do you think that's a reasonable amount or do you think that's too much? Like that
I
could
mean,
be that could
70 years.
well, so after you die plus 70 years.
Yeah. I guess after I die, unless I've willed it to somebody, I'm not sure that I can really have much control, and not even be uh, worried about that anymore. It's
Yeah.
just whether I really have gotten to heaven or not would be my main
Yeah.
concern.
Yeah.
Um, but but now the trademark and the patents, most patents are right around 20 years, and it depends. Some are even 17. um, well, 20 years, believe it or not, can pass by really quick.
Yeah.
And even though it seems like a lot in the start, but once you've been through a couple of 20s already, it's not really all that long. I would like to see the ability to periodically renew a patent rather than it be 20 years and, you know, it's open market at that point. I'm not really sure why they do that, but that's kind of the way it is.
Sure.
Yeah, yeah. So that would be one thing I think if I could change it, that would be one of the changes I would make here.
Interesting. Well,
So
run 45
okay,
minutes. Our target was 15, but it's all
yeah,
good. It's
yeah.
yeah, it's all really
Okay,
good information. So, um, so
okay.
anyways, thank you so much, Curt, for sharing some of your insights. Obviously you've got a lot of experience with this stuff, and so I think you're a great source to kind of share your perspective on patents.
Yeah, yeah. So you keep on keep on inspiring those students of yours and others that are following you on LinkedIn and they're and I do and they're very enjoyable and inspiring and you certainly encourage people to look at the world in from different viewpoints and so it's quite fun and interesting. So
Well, thanks. I'm glad you enjoy it. And can I
okay,
what would you say if I posted this video on LinkedIn?
I would be fine with that.
Okay, well, I'm probably gonna do it
Yeah.
then. Excellent.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
I'm gonna stop
Say hi to
recording
Sarah
here.
for us.
Oh, here it
Okay.
is.
Take
Uh,
care, sir. Bye-bye.